Welcome to English Life Stories, looking to improve your English naturally. Here we grow together through meaningful stories, spoken slowly, clearly, and with joy. Just press play, unwind, and enjoy every step of the journey.
Chapter 1. He wanted to be rich. But what he discovered was deeper than money. Have you ever wanted something so badly that you thought it would fix everything? A bigger house, a better job, more money, a new life? He felt the same. From the outside, he looked like any young man with dreams. But inside, he was quietly drowning in questions. Why do I always feel behind? Why do others succeed, but I don't? Will I ever be enough? His name was Matt. He lived in a small town, but carried big hopes, not just for himself, but for his family. He watched his father work long hours and his mother stretch every coin like magic. So Matt made a promise to himself. One day I will be rich, and then everything will be okay. He believed that money would bring him peace, that wealth would mean worth, that success would erase the silent shame he carried. And so he studied, he worked, he tried. He chased every idea that promised quick results, crypto, dropshipping, YouTube tutorials on how to get rich fast. But each time, he ended up more tired, more confused, more lost. Until one night, something unexpected happened. He was scrolling through his phone, hoping to feel inspired. Instead, he found a free PDF, an old book from the 1930s. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. The title pulled him in. He thought, maybe this is the secret I've been looking for. But the first line didn't talk about money. It talked about desire, then faith, then persistence, and something called the mastermind, a group of people who support your growth. Matt was confused. He thought this book was about getting rich, but slowly, word by word, he realized it was about something deeper. This book wasn't teaching him how to make money. It was teaching him how to think, how to believe, how to feel strong again, even when life felt impossible. And then, like a mirror he never knew he needed, one sentence hit him. Before you can win in the outer world, you must first win in the inner world. That night, Matt didn't sleep. He cried, not because he was weak, but because he was finally honest. He saw that his hunger for money was really a hunger for meaning, for freedom, for self-respect, for the feeling that he matters. He wanted to be rich. But what he discovered was that real richness begins inside. Have you ever chased something and then realized what you truly needed was something else? Have you ever looked for money when your soul was just asking for peace? This is not just a story about Matt. It's the story of millions, maybe even yours. But the good news is this: the path that begins with pain can lead to power. Because sometimes life doesn't give us what we want. It gives us what we need to wake up, and Matt had just woken up. Chapter 2. The Invisible Inheritance. What they never taught him about worth. Some people inherit land. Some inherit businesses. Some inherit last names with power behind them. Matt inherited silence, not silence from his family. They loved him deeply. But silence from the world about something no one ever taught him: his worth. No school ever said, "You are valuable," even before you prove it. No exam ever asked, "How much do you believe in yourself?" No teacher ever said, "Before you work hard, know that you matter." So Matt grew up thinking he had to earn his worth. He believed, if I get good grades, they'll respect me. If I become rich, I'll finally be enough. If I speak perfect English, I'll belong. But none of it worked. Even after success, the feeling stayed. That quiet fear of not being enough. Then one day, he read something else in Hill's book. Something that stopped him in his tracks. The man who does not value himself cannot value anything else. It hit him like lightning. He had been trying to build a future on a broken foundation, trying to speak a language while still afraid of his own voice, trying to love others without learning how to love himself. This wasn't just Matt's story. It was Oprah Winfrey's too. She was born in poverty, faced abuse as a child, told over and over that she would never be good enough. But something in her never stopped believing. Oprah once said, "You become what you believe, not what you wish." And that belief, that quiet, powerful seed, changed her life. Not fame, not money, self-worth. She didn't wait for someone to give it to her. She claimed it. Have you ever waited for someone to tell you that you're enough? Have you ever worked hard just to feel seen, safe, or worthy? You are not alone. Most of us are never taught our true value. We try to prove it in jobs, relationships, or status. But your real worth isn't in your resume, your income, or your accent. It's in your soul. So today, try this. Before you ask the world to value you, value yourself first. Say it out loud, every morning, even if you don't fully believe it yet. I matter. I am already worthy. I am becoming. Because once you remember your invisible inheritance, the power, dignity, and light inside you, everything begins to change. Even the way you speak English, will start to feel more natural. Because it's no longer about proving anything. It's about expressing who you really are. Chapter 3. The moment he was told, "You're not enough." And what he did with that pain. It only takes one sentence to build someone up or break them down. For Matt, that sentence came when he was 15. He was standing in front of the class, trying to read a paragraph in English. His voice shook. His hands were sweating. He mispronounced a word, and someone laughed. Then came the teacher's voice. "Sit down. You're not ready for this." That was it. No insult, no screaming, just 7 quiet words that stayed with him for years. "You're not ready." He didn't hear correction. He heard judgment. He didn't hear feedback. He heard failure. After that day, something changed. Matt became quieter in class. He avoided speaking in public. He smiled more, but said less. And inside, a belief started to grow like a shadow. Maybe I'm just not enough. Psychologists call it emotional memory. When we feel shame, the brain records it deeply. The nervous system learns to protect us by avoiding the same pain. But here's the problem. Avoiding pain also means avoiding growth. Every time Matt saw an opportunity to speak, to try, to risk, that old voice came back. "Don't try. You'll embarrass yourself again. Remember last time? Better to stay silent." But silence has a cost. It protects you from shame, but it also keeps you small. Then one night, while listening to a podcast about J.K. Rowling, something changed again. He learned that before Harry Potter became a global miracle, Rowling was rejected by 12 publishers. 12. Each one said no. Each one could have made her stop. But she didn't stop. Because deep down, she knew her story mattered, even when others didn't see it yet. Matt paused the podcast and whispered something he hadn't said in a long time. "Maybe they were wrong about me too." Have you ever believed a painful sentence someone told you? What if it wasn't true, just temporary? Here's the truth. You are not your worst moment. You are not one teacher's opinion. You are not one mistake in front of a crowd. You are more than that. And your story isn't finished yet. If someone once made you feel small, it's time to rewrite that sentence. Try this. Say out loud the opposite of what they said. "I am ready. I am enough. I don't need to be perfect, just brave." Because healing begins the moment you stop carrying someone else's fear and start trusting your own voice. Chapter 4. What no English school ever taught him about confidence. Matt thought confidence came after perfection. He believed that one day when his English was perfect, he would finally feel ready to speak, to apply for that job, to travel, to be seen. But that day never came. He studied grammar rules. He memorized vocabulary lists. He repeated phrases from apps, hoping to sound more native. Still, whenever he had to speak in real life, his mind froze. His heart raced. His voice disappeared. He wondered, why do I understand English, but still feel scared to use it? The answer wasn't in the books. It wasn't in the classroom. It was something no school ever taught him. Confidence isn't the result of learning. It's the fuel for learning. Then Matt met someone online, a Brazilian student about his age. He had never studied abroad, never taken formal classes. But his English was surprisingly fluent, emotional, expressive, alive. Matt asked, "What course did you take?" The answer shocked him. None. I just read out loud every day, alone, even when I sounded terrible, especially then. He explained, something simple yet powerful. I didn't wait to feel confident. I practiced until my fear got bored and left. That hit Matt hard. He realized that confidence grows through action, not before it. Just like muscles grow through resistance. Just like seeds only break open in darkness. Have you ever waited to feel ready before trying something new? What if readiness comes after, not before you begin? From that day, Matt changed his method. He stopped obsessing over mistakes. He started reading out loud, even if only for 5 minutes. He spoke to the mirror. He recorded voice notes. He used English to heal. And slowly, something began to shift. His voice didn't just get stronger. His shame got quieter. So here's a practice for you. Choose one short paragraph from a book, a song, or this video. Read it out loud, even if your voice shakes. Say, this before and after. It's okay to make mistakes. Every word I speak is one step closer to freedom. Because confidence isn't about speaking perfectly. It's about trusting yourself, even when your voice still trembles. Chapter 5. Why this rejection became the start of a new life. Sometimes what looks like a wall is really a door in disguise. Matt didn't understand this at first, when he didn't get the internship he wanted, the one he had dreamed about. He felt crushed. He had studied so hard, prepared for the interview, even practiced every answer in English. But the email came. We regret to inform you. And just like that, everything fell apart. He sat in silence for hours, not angry, just empty. He kept thinking, what else do I need to do? Am I just not good enough? But something unexpected happened the next day. He met an old friend for tea. This friend had once applied for the same job and was also rejected. But now he was running a small but growing business, helping local students learn computer skills. Matt was surprised. "You seem happy," he said. His friend smiled. "That rejection gave me space to build something of my own. It didn't break me, it freed me." Those words stayed with Matt. It freed me. He had never thought of rejection that way. Then he remembered a story from school about Nelson Mandela. Mandela was rejected by the world, thrown into prison for 27 years. But inside that prison, he didn't lose himself. He found something deeper: forgiveness, clarity, purpose. Mandela once said, "I never lose. I either win or learn." What if your rejection wasn't a punishment, but protection? What if it's not the end, but the redirection you needed? That idea began to heal something in Matt. He stopped blaming life and started listening to it. He realized that every no creates space for a deeper yes. A yes to who you really are. A yes to a path that truly fits you. A yes to freedom. Here's a quiet exercise for your heart. Think of a rejection that still hurts. Write it down, but not as an end. Rewrite it as a beginning. This closed door protected me from something. It guided me toward something better. I may not see it yet, but I trust that it's true, because sometimes your greatest rejection is life's most gentle redirection. Chapter 6. He wanted riches, but discovered the power of a sentence. Matt had spent months searching for the big breakthrough, a new job, a sudden opportunity, a lucky turn. He thought transformation would come from outside, fast, loud, and dramatic. But it didn't. It came quietly, in the form of a single sentence. One morning, after feeling especially low, Matt opened Napoleon Hill's book again. He was tired. His dreams felt distant, his energy gone. But then his eyes landed on a line he had read before, yet never truly seen. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. He read it again and again, not as a quote, not as a theory, but as a seed, a sentence that didn't just speak to his mind, it spoke to his identity. That day, Matt decided to do something strange. He took a small notebook and wrote just one sentence on the first page. "I am already becoming who I need to be." He read it out loud, twice in the morning, once before bed. At first, it felt silly, mechanical, forced, but after a few days, something shifted. He wasn't just saying the words, he was beginning to believe them. And belief, like fire, spreads. He walked differently. His voice felt stronger. His doubts got quieter, not gone, but less loud. Have you ever told yourself a sentence until it changed your story? What if your healing begins with just one phrase, repeated with love? Modern neuroscience confirms this truth. Repetition reshapes the brain. Affirmations, when emotional and consistent, can create new patterns. What you say to yourself matters more than what anyone else says to you, because words aren't just information. They are seeds, and every day you repeat them, you water them. Here's a practice you can begin today. Write a sentence that speaks life into you. Something simple, something real. I matter. I'm learning, and that's enough. I don't have to be perfect to begin. Say it out loud, with feeling. Do this for 21 days. In the mirror, before sleep, after mistakes, during doubt, because wealth begins in your words, and the most powerful investment you'll ever make is the one you make in your belief. Chapter 7, The Mastermind Principle, Why Real Change Never Happens Alone. For a long time, Matt believed he had to do everything alone. Success, he thought, was a solo journey, like climbing a mountain, step by step, in silence with no one to lean on. But that belief became heavy. It made him feel isolated, like he was carrying a dream too big for one person's shoulders. Then, in Chapter 10 of Napoleon Hill's book, he read something unexpected. No two minds ever come together without creating a third invisible force, a mastermind. It sounded mysterious. What was this mastermind? Hill explained, it's a group, not just any group, but a circle of people who believe in each other, challenge each other, and grow together. Not competition, connection. Matt realized something. He didn't need more motivation. He needed community. That same week, he reached out to two friends who were also learning English. He said, let's meet once a week. No pressure, just practice, just support. They agreed. At first it felt awkward, but after a few sessions, something beautiful started to form. One of them brought a new phrase each week. Another shared affirmations she repeated before job interviews. Matt opened up about his fears and wasn't judged. They became mirrors for each other. And slowly, they all began to grow, faster, deeper, stronger. Have you ever tried to do everything alone? What if your next breakthrough is waiting in someone else's support? Think of Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Apple began in a garage, not because they had money, but because they had each other. Ideas grow faster when shared. Confidence multiplies when mirrored. Even faith, spiritual or personal, is easier to hold when you're not holding it alone. Here's something you can try this week. Find one person you trust, someone on a journey of learning, healing, or growth. Invite them to a 15-minute weekly check-in. Share goals, share struggles, encourage each other. Call it your growth circle or any name that feels warm, because your dream doesn't just need action. It needs allies. No seed grows alone, and neither should you. Chapter 8. How Faith Helped Her Keep Going When Everything Seemed Lost. Her name was Amina. She was 60 years old, a grandmother, a widow, and a beginner. After her daughter moved abroad, Amina felt a new kind of silence, not just in her house, but in her heart. She missed her daughter, but even more, she missed her little grandson. He was growing up speaking English, and she couldn't understand him. One day, after a short video call, she sat in her kitchen and cried. Not because she was weak, but because she felt invisible. "I want to talk to him," she whispered. Not through someone else, not through translation, just me and him, heart to heart. She decided, it's time. But she didn't start with a grammar book. She didn't start with fear. She started with faith. Every morning she lit a small candle. She placed a photo of her grandson on the table and said a sentence softly. This light is for him, and this lesson is for love. Then she would open her notebook and study 10 minutes, 15 minutes, reading children's books, repeating words out loud, watching cartoons in English. It was slow, but it was sacred, and after 6 months, she did something extraordinary. She called her grandson again. This time, when he said, "I love you, Grandma," she replied in her soft, careful voice, "I love you too." His eyes lit up. He smiled wide, and Amina felt something inside her bloom. Not just pride, power. Have you ever wanted to give up? But something inside whispered, "Keep going." Have you ever chosen faith even when the path felt impossible? Faith isn't a feeling, it's a practice. It's what you do when there's no guarantee. It's the quiet voice that says, maybe, not today, but one day. Faith doesn't mean you never fall. It means you keep rising for love, for truth, for your future. Try this. Each morning, light a small candle, real or imagined. Say a sentence to your future self or someone you love. This step is small, but it matters. This effort is for healing, for hope, for tomorrow. Then study, not from fear, but from love. Because when you learn with love, you never forget. And when your faith becomes bigger than your fear, you become unstoppable. Chapter 9. What his silence was hiding all along. Matt used to think he was just shy, quiet by nature, a little nervous, not a talker, but the truth was deeper. His silence wasn't personality, it was protection. Every time he opened his mouth to speak in English, something pulled him back. Not just fear, but a memory of laughing classmates, a memory of a disappointed teacher, a memory of not being good enough. He had buried these moments deep, under logic and busy schedules, but they hadn't disappeared. They were still there, shaping his voice. One evening, he joined an online English group. They were reading simple stories and sharing short reflections. When it was his turn, Matt froze. His throat tightened. His mind went blank. He wanted to disappear. But the host, a soft-spoken woman, said gently, "You don't have to be perfect. Just speak with your truth." Matt took a breath and said something he had never shared before. "Sometimes I feel stupid when I speak English, not because I don't know the words, but because I feel ashamed of who I am when I mess up." There was silence, not the cold kind, the warm kind, the kind that holds you. Then someone replied, "Me too." And another, "That's exactly how I feel." And suddenly, Matt didn't feel alone, or broken, or strange. Have you ever been silent, not because you had nothing to say, but because you were afraid to say it wrong? What if your silence is holding a wound, not a weakness? Science confirms unspoken emotions become physical blocks. They affect how we breathe, how we move, how we speak. But here's the healing truth. What you name, you can tame. What you express, you begin to release. Matt began speaking more, not perfectly, but honestly. He told his story in English, broken grammar, full heart, and people listened because when someone speaks from pain, others feel it. And healing begins not just for the speaker, but for the listener too. Try this. Take 5 minutes. Speak into your phone or a mirror. Start with this sentence. What I've never said in English is, let it come. Even if your voice shakes, even if it's messy, because sometimes the words that free us are the ones we've been too afraid to say. Chapter 10. A simple 3-step method to transform your self-worth today. Matt used to believe that self-worth was something you earned through success, praise, or perfection. But the more he healed, the more he realized something simple, yet powerful. Self-worth isn't earned. It's remembered, and remembering who you are, especially after pain, rejection, or silence, takes practice, not magic, not motivation. Just 3 gentle steps, done with love. Step 1. Write what you've survived. Take a piece of paper, list 5 things you've been through, and made it out alive. It doesn't matter if they're big or small. I grew up without support. I failed, but got back up. Learned English even when it scared me. I kept going when no one believed in me. These aren't just memories. They are proof. Proof that you are stronger than you think. Proof that you already carry wisdom from life itself. Step 2. Speak it out loud. Every morning, before the noise of the day begins, read your list. Say it with respect. Say it like a ceremony, because your story is sacred, and your voice carries power, even if it's quiet. Start with, I am still here. And that means something. Step 3. Share one truth with one safe person. Find someone who listens without judgment. Tell them one part of your story, not for sympathy, not for validation, but to reclaim your truth out loud. If you don't have someone yet, speak to your journal. Speak to your mirror. Speak to your younger self. Because expression is liberation. Have you ever waited for someone to approve of your worth? What if you don't need their approval, just your own recognition? Napoleon Hill once wrote, "You already have what you need. You simply need to use it." That's what Maddie began to do, not with fancy tools, not with more certificates, but with quiet daily rituals, writing, speaking, sharing, and slowly, he didn't just learn English, he began to live it, with heart, with meaning, with dignity. Try this today. Write, speak, share, because when you remind yourself of your strength, you don't just improve your English, you transform your life. Chapter 11. What if everything you lost was just the beginning? By now, Matt had changed. Not suddenly, not loudly, but deeply. He still lived in the same town, still faced challenges, still made mistakes in English, but something inside him had shifted. He no longer saw failure as the end. He saw it as information, as instruction, as a beginning. One morning, while walking through a quiet street, he noticed a tree. Its branches were bare, no leaves. At first, it looked lifeless, but then he looked closer. Tiny buds, small green tips, barely visible. Life was returning, not with noise, but with quiet strength, and he realized this was his story too, all. The things he thought he had lost, his confidence, his voice, his worth, hadn't disappeared. They had simply gone underground. like roots preparing for spring. And now they were rising, not because of luck, but because of love. Love for learning, love for truth, love for the person he was becoming. Have you ever felt like your life was falling apart? Only to later see it was falling into place? What if everything you've been through wasn't punishment, but preparation? Because here's the quiet truth. Life doesn't take. It transforms. When something ends, something else begins. When you lose a job, you might find your calling. When you lose approval, you might find your voice. When you lose direction, you might find your purpose. So here's a final practice. Write a letter to yourself, not from the past, but from your future self. Begin with, I know it's been hard, but you didn't give up. And that changed everything. End with, what felt like an ending was really your beginning. Because you're not too late, you're not too broken, and you're not alone. You are on the path. You are healing. You are becoming. So the next time you feel lost, remember this. You are not falling. You are being planted, and soon you will bloom. Thank you for walking this journey. If this story spoke to you, share it, repeat it, live it. Because your pain can become your power.